Well, here we are back again with Fixing the Multiverse Saga, a series where I seek to correct the issues that have plagued the MCU's Multiverse Saga while attempting to reuse as many projects that we got in the actual MCU, while also building a more cohesive narrative along the way. Before we start, if you have not done so, please watch Fixing the Multiverse Saga Phase 4, which will be linked both at the end of this video and in the description. You will probably be very confused if you haven't watched it, so make sure to check it out before watching this video. Anyways, Phase 5 consists of 6 movies and 6 shows and serves as a kickoff to the multiverse of the MCU. But enough with the introduction, let's jump in to the slate. Movie number 1, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Quantumania follows the same story beats that we got in the actual MCU, but is also drastically different. Let's start off by talking about what Scott and Hope have been up to. Hope has taken over as chairwoman of PIM Technologies, and has been working in a philanthropic capacity since the Skrull invasion during the events of Secret Invasion, seeking to provide aid to countries whose infrastructure was destroyed in the attack. Scott has become the face of ex-con security solutions, and thanks to his added popularity being an Avenger, sales have skyrocketed. Oh, and yes, Luis, Dave, and Kurt all appear in the project. Hank has helped Ghost gain control of her quantum phasing, while Cassie and Janet create a device to help map the quantum realm. Cassie has become discontent with this, however, as she yearns to be more like her father, wanting to become a hero and not just someone stuck in a lab. Unfortunately, Scott, Hope, Cassie, Hank, and Janet are pulled into the quantum realm by a mysterious person named Kang the Conqueror, a man who claims to have come from the future and has subjugated the inhabitants of the quantum realm. After the residents informed Kang of Janet and how she escaped, Kang decided to inquire about her services directly, seeking to gain possession of the device that has mapped the quantum realm for himself. After forcing Scott to test out the effectiveness of the device, one thing is made clear. If Kang manages to actually use the device for his own nefarious purposes, millions, if not billions, could die. This results in the Ant team standing against Kang, with Kang showing off how powerful he truly is, killing Scott, Hank, and Janet in the process. Thankfully, Hope and Cassie are able to escape after destroying the device, but are both distraught about the death of their families and unsure about what to do next. In the post-credit scene, we see Hope meeting with Sam and Bucky, informing them of what happened in the quantum realm as the trio begin contemplating next steps in how they might deal with this new threat. Next up, movie number 2, Spiderman No Way Home. Most of the film stays the same, except for some stuff at the beginning of the film. We still see the immediate aftermath of Mysterio revealing Spider-Man's identity, but then cut to the present day as we are shown Peter's life after his identity was revealed. He is unable to easily fight crime or even go about with his friends. His relationship with MJ has been made extremely difficult as most of her friends and family strongly encourage her to avoid Peter at all costs, while Ned also faces challenges thanks to his friendship with Peter. Matt Murdock, Foggy, and Karen all cameo in the film as Peter's legal team, and just like in the actual MCU, Doctor Strange casts the spell to erase everyone's memory of Peter Parker. However, in this version of the story, I believe Strange's actions are a bit more justified than the actual cut of the film. Unlike in the MCU version, Peter has spent years dealing with the impact of having his identity revealed. It has hindered him both as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man, prevented him from having a normal life and keeping the streets safe from crime. This makes Doctor Strange's decision much less rash than his decision in the actual MCU. Not going to talk about the morality of this decision, but still, I think it's a bit more justified than the actual in-universe MCU version we got. Of course, Andrew and Toby still return along with their villains. Aunt May dies, and Peter ultimately chooses to have everyone forget that he is Spider-Man, returning to a life of crime fighting without his friends. In the post-credit scene, we see Ravonna Renslayer and the agents of the TVA, who are closely monitoring the events of the film. Renslayer tells the agents that everything worked out just in the nick of time and they will no longer need to interfere. So those were the first 2 movies of Phase 5, so let's talk about our first show. Show number 1, Loki, Season 1. This 6-episode series follows the Loki variant that escaped the Battle of New York back in Avengers Endgame using the Tesseract, and also introduces us to the wider concepts of the multiverse. Episodes 1 and 2 primarily seek to introduce us to the Time Variance Authority and the core tenets of the multiverse. Before I explain these, let me note one thing that I have drastically altered in this rewrite, that being the core tenets of the multiverse. I feel that one of the major issues of the Multiverse Saga is that there is no solid foundation for how the multiverse operates. Instead of simply laying all the rules out in a single series or keeping them established from the get-go, we have seemingly had the rules either altered or expanded across multiple series. So, for the sake of simplicity, I will be cementing only 3 core tenets of the multiverse, which we will discuss now. The first tenet is that there is no sacred timeline, but instead multiple different universes that are all connected through the quantum realm. The quantum realm could realistically be used for both time travel and multiversal travel should someone be capable of creating a device to facilitate such a feat. Second, when the flow of time in each universe is disrupted by events such as time travel, world-ending calamities, and excessive multiversal travel, there runs the risk of an incursion that could potentially cause one or multiple universes to perish. And third, each universe has an anchor being that is so intrinsically tied to their universe that removing them would eventually result in the destabilization and death of that universe. Now, the Time Variance Authority is housed in a pocket dimension that takes place outside the normal bounds of space and time, and are tasked with closely monitoring the health of the multiverse. The TVA is broken up into 3 distinct groups: agents, wardens, and judges. Agents, led by Mobius, are those who both monitor and remove beings that threaten the stability of the multiverse. They are sent into the battlefield and tasked with removing beings that disrupt the natural flow of time. Judges, led by the second-in-command of the TVA, Ravonna Renslayer, are tasked with deciding punishment for beings captured by the agents. And wardens, led by Paradox, are in charge of monitoring imprisoned or banished beings that were sentenced for their crimes by the judges. In short, Mobius offers Loki a chance to eventually have counsel with the head of the TVA if he agrees to help track down his dangerous variants and bring them to justice before any harm can be done to the multiverse. Loki, who still wants to prove himself and acts like he did in the original Thor and Avengers movie, agrees to help out, secretly planning to overthrow the leader of the TVA and become a god that controls time itself. Episodes 3 to 4 show Loki and Mobius tracking down a variant of Loki, which turns out to not simply be a female version of Loki, but rather the Enchantress. The Enchantress slowly starts to manipulate Loki, using his loneliness and desire to be recognized to twist his mind into betraying the TVA, saying that unlike the current TVA agents, they are gods, and their fate should not be decided by mortals. This results in a massive fight that ends with both Loki and the Enchantress being pruned and ending up in the Void, a pocket dimension parallel to the TVA where banished beings are sent. Episodes 5 to 6 deal with the Enchantress helping Loki escape Alioth and finding the Citadel at the end of time, with the Enchantress sacrificing herself to help Loki, encouraging him to follow his will and assert himself as the god that controls time. This is when Loki encounters He Who Remains, who explains that the TVA was established following the first multiversal war, where he and his variants fought against a powerful group of men known as the Molecule Men. When the battle was won, all of his variants argued as to which one should control the future of the multiverse. Infighting broke out, resulting in the most conservative member, He Who Remains, winning and forming the TVA from the soldiers who fought alongside him during both conflicts. He seeks to monitor the multiverse out of fear that one day his variants might decide to attack and seek to control the multiverse, destroying universes and killing billions in the process to achieve their desired goal, creating a single universe in their own image and likeness. Instead of being a villainous figure, He Who Remains sees potential in Loki, with the series ending off having Loki become a pupil of He Who Remains, who teaches Loki everything he needs to know about the multiverse so that Loki might one day be able to replace him and continue his mission. And while Loki still has a desire to control time itself, we start to see cracks form in his facade as he slowly begins understanding the importance of acting selflessly instead of selfishly, thanks to the example set by He Who Remains. Next up, show number 2, Wanda Vision. This 9-episode series would ideally end the week before the next project in our slate releases, but remains somewhat the same with a few major differences added in as well. The story still follows Wanda Vision, Billy, and Tommy living out their lives in Westview thanks to Wanda's magical hex, but some things have changed drastically. Sword is still involved, but instead of being founded by Maria Rambeau, it was created by the government following the events of Endgame to serve as a replacement for S.H.I.E.L.D., and is under the leadership of director Tyler Hayward. Instead of having Monica infiltrate the hex, Ghost will be assigned to do so and will play a huge role in the series, even having a trauma bond with Wanda of sorts, becoming frenemies due to their traumatic childhoods and difficult adulthoods. Other characters involved will be Darcy Lewis, Jimmy Woo, along with Luis, Dave, and Kurt. with ex-Con being hired by Jimmy Woo to set up a way to monitor Wanda from inside the Hex. The series ends with Wanda still defeating Agatha, this time removing both her powers and memory and leaving the Hex and Westview behind. However, there were two big changes that occur at the end of the series. First, while White Vision is shown to be capable of mimicking the attacks and power of the old Vision, he still lacks the complex decision-making and emotional intelligence of the old Vision that allowed him to become a much more formidable foe. This is noted by Hayward, who agrees to hire top scientists to begin seeing if they can somehow program Vision be capable of understanding complex emotions in order to create the perfect soldier under their command and not simply a mindless killing machine. This will become important later. Second, Wanda is seen as a criminal for her actions in Westview, causing her to go on the run and also hone her powers as a Scarlet Witch thanks to the Darkhold, which she stole from Agatha following their duel. This leads directly into movie number 3, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. While the plot of Multiverse of Madness remains mostly the same, a lot of the story elements are drastically different than the actual movie. The movie would still involve America Chavez, with Wanda attempting to absorb her powers to enter a universe where she can be with Vision, Billy, and Tommy. But how we get there is very different. Firstly, Strange is still the Sorcerer Supreme and is facing criticism from Wong and the other sorcerers at Kamar-Taj for the actions he took during Spiderman No Way Home, calling them reckless and short-sighted. This makes Strange and Wanda's dynamic complicated, with Wanda admonishing Strange for his actions in New York, while Strange admonishes Wanda for the actions she took in Westview. Wanda would still attack Kamar-Taj in search of America Chavez, resulting in Strange and America taking a trip through the multiverse. Unlike in the film, we would spend more time in the different universes, showing the many differences between each universe, the fact that America has a difficult time controlling her powers, and also having America share her origin story in a much more natural way than we saw in the film. We still eventually arrive in the Illuminati's universe, where things play out similar to the movie, but with the Illuminati looking slightly different. The 6 members that make up the Illuminati include Haley Atwell's Captain Carter, Anson Mount's Black Bolt, Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, who is still active as Ant-Man in his older age, Chiwetel Ejiofor's Baron Mordo, the Sorcerer Supreme, Desmond Idris's Black Panther, and Sir Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. The Illuminati would be defeated by Wanda, Strange would face off against Sinister Strange, and Dream walk to control the deceased corpse of Defender Strange, capping off with America gaining better control of her powers and defeating Wanda by showing her a version of Billy and Tommy that are terrified of her, protected by their universe's version of Wanda and Vision, who plays a key role as the children's father in the project. Wanda decides to use all of her power to destroy the Darkhold, and it is left ambiguous if Wanda dies or not, as we simply see her body disappear as she destroys the book. But not before 2 scarlet-colored wisps fly from Mount Wundagore as she vanishes. Once again, this will be important later. The end of the film shows Wong taking in America as a pupil, while in the post-credit scene we see Strange being recruited by Clea to help fix incursions caused by the multiversal shenanigans that occurred during the film. Okay, so we have 3 movies so far, let's get back to the shows. Show number 3, Daredevil Born Again, Season 2. This 9-episode series follows Daredevil dealing with the events of Secret Invasion and the issues he has concerning his abilities in battle following his fight with a Skrull. A fight where he was outmatched by the superhuman strength and durability of the alien. Episodes 1 to 3 would deal with Matt going to therapy with Heather Glenn, who simply plays the role as a therapist and not a love interest, where he attempts to discuss his mental block being Daredevil without divulging his identity. At his firm, Foggy and Karen have begun representing vigilantes such as Jessica Jones, Miss Marvel, Iron Fist, and Moon Knight, who have all found their jobs being made significantly more difficult thanks to the increased restrictions imposed by Fisk following the events of Secret Invasion. We also discover that Vanessa has secretly restarted Fisk's drug smuggling trade, using her husband's political influence to bribe police officers and politicians to overlook her criminal activities. However, a shift in the series happens in episodes 4 to 5, where the main villain of the series, Mr. Fear, presents himself, seeking to use his fear gas to cause New York to fall into absolute chaos. Gas that causes anyone who inhales it to face their biggest fears while also recalling their most frightful memories. This significantly interferes with Fisk's drug operation, and after it is proven that his anti-vigilante task force is incapable of dealing with the criminal, he meets with Luke Cage to discuss a compromise. If Cage and his comrades agree to remove the threat of Mr. Fear, he will drop the current charges levied against them, allowing them to essentially have a clean slate. Episodes 6 to 7 deal with Matt struggling with the proposition made by Fisk, feeling that he would not be able to agree to do something that ultimately meant working on behalf of Wilson. But things take an interesting turn when Matt discovers that Mr. Fear is a former law school rival, Lawrence Cranston, in disguise. Cranston was overshadowed by Matt in school, constantly losing to him in classroom debates and on mock trial, causing him to lose all confidence in himself and his abilities. His psychopathic hatred for Matt eventually led to him becoming Mr. Fear, setting out to destroy the self-confidence and psychological stability of his foes, the same way his self-belief was destroyed by Matt. This causes Daredevil to leap into action, teaming up with Jessica Jones and Moon Knight to attempt to take down Mr. Fear. However, the three are hit with a dose of fear gas, which causes Matt to relive his fight with the Skrull and recall the death of his father, Elektra, and Special Agent Nadeem, causing the man without fear to be filled with fear. Episodes 8 and 9 deal with Matt, Jessica, and Mark helping each other to overcome their psychological difficulties, and Matt specifically to overcome his mental block through opening himself up in a way we have never seen before. Finally accepting that he cannot do everything on his own and forcing himself to open up to the idea of accepting help from others, both in his life as an attorney and in his life as Daredevil. The trio ultimately bring down Mr. Fear and has their charges pending against them dropped. But feeling comfortable with the idea of working with others for the sake of achieving a common goal, Matt meets with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Colleen Wing, and Moon Knight to discuss an idea: reforming the Defenders and working together in order to bring down Wilson Fisk. Unlike when the Defenders previously formed, they're not doing so out of necessity to bring down a common enemy, but this time as a united front with the singular plan and goal to take down the Kingpin. This will be continued in the next episode, but until then, the next show on our slate is show number 4, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This 9-episode series seeks to show the origins of She-Hulk while also propelling her into an even bigger role than the wider MCU. Episode 1 shows Jennifer having a more comic-accurate origin story. Jennifer Walters is having lunch with her cousin Bruce Banner before heading to court to participate in one of the most contentious trials New York has ever seen: the United States versus Pagon, a Skrull who is found to have remained on Earth and is now being charged for his crimes in relation to the Skrull attack. In spite of many urging her not to take the case, Jennifer's strong belief that everyone, even alien life forms, deserve a fair trial led to her picking up the case pro bono. An unpopular move that has made her a controversial figure around the country. While walking to the courthouse, Jennifer is shot by someone in protest of her representing a Skrull, causing Bruce Banner to perform an emergency blood transfusion on Jen, which results in her gaining powers similar to that of the Hulk, and ultimately causing her to become the creature known as She-Hulk. Episodes 2 to 5 would deal with Jennifer getting the hang of becoming She-Hulk through training sessions with Bruce, who also teaches her how to control her anger. This gives us time to get to know Jennifer better as well, establishing that she is an attorney licensed in both New York and California, and is also someone who begins to struggle with her identity as Jennifer Walters. As a result of the backlash she received for representing the Skrull, whose trial resulted in life imprisonment, she feels that perhaps it would be beneficial to stay as She-Hulk, an identity she feels is better than anything Jennifer could ever dream of becoming. We then watch as She-Hulk begins operating as a hero, taking out classic She-Hulk villains such as the Wrecking Crew and Titania, before the series takes a dramatic turn at the end of episode 5, where She-Hulk is captured by the Time Variance Authority and brought to their headquarters for some unknown purpose. Episodes 6 to 7 deal with Jen becoming the new attorney for the TVA, an idea concocted by both Mobius and Paradox after a particular variant argued there should be some sort of legal representation when variants are forced to stand before a judge. Because of this, the TVA recognized Jennifer's particular set of skills and decided that she would be the best fit in the new role as their attorney for captured variants. Jennifer then represents a few variants of recognizable Marvel characters, including Juggernaut, Toad, and Pyro, while also showing off her incredible skills as a lawyer, mastering the TVA's complex legal rules that were recently created by Ravonna Renslayer. However, episodes 8 to 9 deal with the trial that reshapes the series, that being the trial of Remy LeBeau, otherwise known as Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. While the final 2 episodes show off the more comedic aspects of She-Hulk flirting with Gambit and even breaking the fourth wall for the first time, it is clear that something nefarious is in play at the TVA. Paradox, arguing for the banishment of Gambit, refuses to acknowledge whether or not the TVA came to a conclusion as to whether Gambit is the anchor being of his universe. Despite Jennifer offering a fantastic argument in Gambit's defense, she loses the trial and Gambit is pruned. However, Jennifer confronts Paradox about the due diligence taken to research Gambit and his connection to his universe, theorizing that potentially Paradox had ulterior motives for moving Gambit. This causes Paradox to prune Jennifer, revealing that indeed, there's something bigger going on at the TVA. Something that is explored further in movie number 4, Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool Wolverine keeps a lot of the same elements as the original movie, but is also different in a number of areas. When Deadpool is captured by the TVA, it is established that his universe is dying thanks to its anchor being, Wolverine, having been killed prior to the events of the film. There will be subtle hints as to how this Wolverine died, but nothing is definitive. But this establishes that the Wolverine that died in Deadpool's universe is different than the Wolverine from the end of Logan. I know this might seem like a minor change, but I'm making it to avoid any of the continuity and timeline issues that were created by the actual film. I know some might be disappointed the Wolverine who died wasn't the same Wolverine from Logan, but hey, I'm just trying to do my best to both fix continuity while also not touching the events of Logan. Paradox wants to save Deadpool and give him a new life in a different universe of his choosing, establishing that when an anchor being dies, their universe begins to decay at a much more rapid rate than was established in the actual film. Deadpool attempts to find a Wolverine to replace his universe's Wolverine. Both get pruned and end up in the void, where many of the cameos and other shenanigans take place like in the actual film. However, SheHulk appears in this project and teams up with Deadpool, Wolverine, Elektra, Blade, Gambit, and X-23 in their fight against Cassandra Nova. However, Cassandra Nova's actions at the end of this film are slightly different from the actual film. While she and Paradox still have an agreement with one another, Cassandra decides to foil Paradox's plans by destroying Deadpool's universe herself through the use of her psionic powers. The ending still has Deadpool and Wolverine defeating Cassandra Nova, Paradox getting demoted and imprisoned for his actions, and the TVA agreeing to return the variants that aided Deadpool and Wolverine back to their original timelines. The post-credit scene, however, is a major change and comes with major revelations. We find out that Kang the Conqueror managed to contact Paradox and agreed to compensate him heavily to work as his pawn. He paid Paradox to remove Gambit from his home universe for one reason and one reason only. He wanted to see how long it would take for a universe whose anchor being is removed to decay and ultimately be destroyed, studying both Gambit and Deadpool's universes to find out. And while he was unable to get a definitive answer either way, he was able to gain a valuable piece of insight thanks to the events of the project. Namely, that when an old anchor being dies, someone who takes an action that intrinsically ties them to their universe, that person can replace a deceased anchor being. With it being revealed that as a result of the project, Deadpool has become the new anchor being of his universe. Next up, we have show number 5, Wonderman. This 6-episode series would actually be extremely important in tying together multiple story threads set up during the saga. Episodes 1 to 2 would introduce us to famous Hollywood actor Simon Williams, his agent Neil Sorian, and reintroducing us to Trevor Slattery, the man who once impersonated the Mandarin. Both Slattery and Williams have been hired to act in a television series titled The Tales to Astonish, a series that recounts the exploits of Iron Man, with Williams portraying James Rhodes in the show. However, we get hints that Simon has been absent from Hollywood for some time, yet Simon appears to suffer from amnesia, not remembering anything from the previous couple months. Episode 3 would be a turning point. During an aerial stunt, Simon's wiring snaps and he is sent flying towards the ground. However, Williams begins to levitate as his eyes glow red, showing that somehow, someway, he has gained powers. The end of episode 3 presents us with an additional twist, as Simon returns to his apartment and meets his older brother, Eric Williams, aka the Grim Reaper. Episode 4 revealed that Simon was nearly killed during the events of Secret Invasion and found himself in a coma and on the brink of death. Simon was a designated organ donor, but this was used in a twisted way, as he was handed over to Sword, who performed experiments on him, dousing him with chemicals and radiation filled with ionic energy. Along with this, Tyler Hayward instructed his scientists to extract Simon's brainwaves, which were used in an attempt to give White Vision some semblance of a free will. Simon eventually awoke, but due to the massive amount of tests performed on him by Sword, and the experiments done on his brain, he found himself suffering from memory loss. Grim Reaper would attempt to lure Simon to get revenge on Sword before teaming up with him to establish their own criminal empire in Los Angeles, a proposition that is shot down by Simon. However, things get even crazier, and at the end of the episode, 2 young boys appear on set and ask for Simon, claiming that he is their uncle. The 2 boys in question turn out to be Billy Maximoff and Tommy Maximoff. Episode 5 reveals that the 2 Scarlet Wisps that flew from Wanda as she destroyed the Darkhold were absorbed by 2 boys who were killed around the same time as Wanda's death, Billy Kaplan and Thomas Shepard. With the Scarlet Wisps somehow implanting the memories and souls of Billy and Tommy into the 2 boys, giving them a second chance at life. Their first goal was to visit their father Vision, but they were denied the opportunity by Hayward. Using their powers, however, they were able to infiltrate Sword's HQ and uncover documents related to their father, and after they learned that Simon's brain patterns were used on Vision, they believed that Simon, who in a manner of speaking could be considered their uncle, might be able to help them in their quest to find and reconnect with their father and mother. This is when we see Simon reach his breaking point, lashing out at the boys and saying that he didn't ask to become involved in any of this and never wants to see them again. The episode ends with Grim Reaper capturing both Billy and Tommy, hoping to test his brother's resolve. Episode 6 would deal with the Grim Reaper seeking to push his brother into joining him down the path of violence and destruction, forcing him to either kill or save Billy and Tommy. We see Simon finally accept what has transpired, while also showing that he has a good heart in spite of him not wanting to be a hero. Saving the twins while also defeating his brother. News of what happened to Simon would make the rounds, leading to Hayward becoming arrested and removed as the head of S.W.O.R.D., with Simon becoming a pop culture icon, becoming the first superpowered individual to also be a star actor. The ending of the series would show Simon agreeing to help Billy and Tommy find their parents, and also hoping to meet Vision and chat with him, the being that holds his brainwaves. The post-credit scenes would show White Vision escaping from S.W.O.R.D. after Hayward's arrest, who looks to establish a life of his own, while we also see Shang-Chi and Katie offer Simon a spot on the Avengers. Next up, show number 6, Hercules. This 6-episode series would seek to establish the character of Hercules while also addressing what happened following the events of Thor, God of Thunder. Episodes 1 to 2 would seek to reintroduce us to Hercules, with the first episode having a cameo appearance from Thor, who has officially designated Hercules as Earth's new protector in his stead, introducing Hercules to Hulk in the process as a member of the Avengers. Hercules would struggle to fill the void left by Thor, being more chaotic than helpful while attempting to aid in various tasks that nations have assigned to him, such as New Asgard and Wakanda. Episode 2 would end off setting up potential conflict brewing on Mount Olympus, with Zeus and Ares seeking to get revenge on Thor by attacking Earth. Episode 3 would give us the backstory of Hercules, the tales of his 12 labors, and also his relationship with Zeus and Ares, with Zeus believing that Hercules would one day become the next great god of Olympus, giving him special treatment, while Ares resented him, feeling that he was always overlooked and undervalued because of Hercules. Episode 4 would have Aphrodite warn Hercules of the upcoming conflict, warning him that many will die if Zeus and Ares attack. The remainder of the episode would see Hercules recruiting a team of heroes to fight against his father and brother. His team would consist of Lady Sif and an army of Asgardian soldiers, Korg, Black Panther, M'Baku the Dora Milaje, various other Wakandan warriors, and notably Star-Lord, who is recommended to Hercules by Korg. There will be an ongoing joke with Hercules seeking to challenge Star-Lord to physical contests based on his title of the legendary Star-Lord, wanting to test the legendary hero of the galaxy, not knowing that this is a self-proclaimed title. Episodes 5 to 6 would show the conflict, with Zeus and Ares leading their army into battle with Hercules and his allies. The conflict results in massive casualties and damage to Greece, but ultimately results in the defeat of Zeus and Ares, with the two being arrested by Thor in the Council of Gods. The series would end with Hercules finally understanding why Thor found meaning in protecting the Earth, while Shuri recruits Star-Lord to the Avengers. That wraps up the shows for Phase 5, so let's discuss the final 2 movies of our slate. Movie number 5, Thunderbolts with an asterisk that really means World War Hulk. The film would seek to explain what President Valentina Allegra de Fontaine has been up to since the events of Secret Invasion. Using the heightened public fear and distrust for the government, Bella's been able to get approval of multiple covert operations to gain useful information such as international intelligence and scientific research, and even formed her own governmental sanctioned team of Black Ops soldiers, consisting of Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, Taskmaster, Ghost, Baron Zemo, and Bullseye. A mix of assassins, convicts, and rejects who Val is able to manipulate through various methods, such as money, influence, and the promise of a reduced jail sentence, giving the group a collective code name of the Thunderbolts. While Val has previously never assigned the group to the same mission, this changes when she wants the Six to work together to test their abilities against a new type of soldier, one that was created as part of the top-secret Project Gold, a project headed by the nation's top scientists who utilize their combined knowledge, the results of S.W.O.R.D's experiments on Simon, and the international scientific research obtained by the Black Ops soldiers, and created a being of immense power, a soldier with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. While all this is going on, we watch as Bruce Banner is confronted by the leader, who reappears following the events of Captain America and tells Bruce that he has managed to make a monumental breakthrough in the study of gamma radiation, with Bruce reluctantly giving him time to explain, remembering the events of the original Incredible Hulk movie and agreeing to see what he has to show. However, this turns out to be a trap, as in Stern's hideout we see the corpse of Thunderbolt Ross, who the leader explains died after he failed to survive his twisted experimentation. Through the use of compressed sound waves, the leader is able to incapacitate Banner, noting that he was intrigued that he appeared to have gained complete control of the Gamma monster living inside him and quelled his rage. something that frustrated the leader greatly. The leader wanted Bruce to take the fall for what happened in Harlem during his fight with the Abomination, and after Ross failed to provide him with Banner as part of their agreement, he had to change up his plan of attack. Instead, the leader sought to find a way to make Bruce revert to his angry and destructive tendencies. Finding that Ross gained additional power and rage as a result of additional gamma exposure. Unfortunately, Ross was exposed to too much gamma and died during his experimentation. But on the bright side, this gave the leader a chance to perfect the gamma dosage needed to complete his plan. Managing to knock Bruce out with the compressed sound waves, he would bombard him with the highest amount of non-lethal gamma radiation he could, and when Banner awoke from his sleep, the leader presented him with something that pushed him over the edge, the corpse of Betty Ross, who was killed by the leader as part of his plan. As a result, the Hulk was reborn like never before, destroying the laboratory and nearly killing the leader, becoming completely blinded by rage, as World War Hulk is born right before our eyes. All of this is going on, the group of Black Ops soldiers had been completely demolished by the man known as Robert Reynolds, the sole survivor of Project Gold, who seems to act differently minute to minute, one minute being a shy and polite individual, and the next a complete and utter menace who had more power than any being seen before. However, the fight is interrupted as Val informs the group that they have a change of plans. They have now been assigned to work with Sentry to take out a new threat that has overcome New York. This is when we find out that the Hulk has decimated downtown New York. Even the Avengers, consisting of Captain America, Bucky, War Machine, Photon, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Hercules, and Star-Lord, unable to control Banner, and they have been completely and utterly wiped out in the conflict. The climax of the film would show Sentry in a comic-accurate costume fighting against Worldbreaker Hulk. The fight would be epic and likely go down as one of Marvel's best, with the two fighting to a draw, knocking each other out with their final blows. The ending of the film shows the Thunderbolts working together to calm Sentry down after he reawakens from battle, establishing a bond between the Sentry and the Thunderbolts, a group he now views as a family. However, we were informed that the United Nations has voted and deemed Hulk a menace to Earth, agreeing to banish him to space, never to return again. Saber, NASA, and other various aerospace experts from around the globe launched the knocked-out Hulk into space, set on a specialized craft designed lacking any controls that would allow Bruce to return, seemingly ridding the Earth of the Hulk for good. The attack by Bruce, combined with the already low levels of public confidence in the Avengers, led to President Val passing sweeping reform, outlawing the formation of teams of powered individuals across the nation and also forming a government-sanctioned Avengers team of her own that she calls the Dark Avengers, claiming that the world is tired of seeing heroes on the news and interfering with their daily lives. So in sharp contrast to the old Avengers, the Dark Avengers would operate in the shadows, doing good without the fanfare and need for public recognition and praise. This group consists of Sentry, Yelena, Red Guardian, Taskmaster, Ghost, Baron Zemo, and Bullseye, resulting in Sam temporarily disbanding the Avengers while he seeks to figure out what he can do to regain public trust in the team. While some of the Avengers face an unprecedented situation, things are worse elsewhere, as in the post-credit scene it is revealed that the Council of Kangs managed to kill Gambit once he was returned to his universe, resulting in the death of his universe and multiple incursions occurring, leading to the final project of this phase. Movie number 6, Fantastic Four. I'm going to keep this movie fairly simple and straightforward, but first I need to mention that this project would take place in a different universe than the main MCU. First part of the project would show the origin of the Fantastic Four, getting their powers while also fighting some of their classic villains such as Mole Man and Puppet Master. Sue would eventually get pregnant as the big second half conflict is revealed, the formation of an incursion near Earth that Reed theorizes could result in the destruction of their planet if it goes unaddressed. This introduces us to the main adversary of the film, a Victor Von Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. Yes, we're sticking with this casting, and I hope to show you how I think it could work. The project seeks to establish the core ideological differences and rivalry between Reed and Doom, with Reed seeking to find a solution that saves their universe, while Doom theorizes that he could find Earth's inhabitants a new home, one more pristine than their current universe. The project would end with the Fantastic Four attempting to use a device invented by Reed to stop the incursion from destroying Earth, and eventually the entire universe. However, the Fantastic Four are unsuccessful and appear to be killed attempting to fix the incursion. At the end of the film, we discover the Fantastic Four in the Citadel at the end of time, having been saved by Loki and He Who Remains, who ask the team for their help, as a group known as the Council of Kangs have officially begun preparations for the next multiversal war. The post-credit scene would show that Dr. Doom managed to escape into the quantum realm at the end of the project, monitoring the stability of the universe and seeking to discover why the incursion formed. looking to gain enough power to take advantage of the multiverse becoming unstable for his own personal ambitions. And that is Phase 5. Sorry this video was a bit longer than anticipated, but there were a lot of changes and new projects I added to the slate, so they required some additional time to fully explain and flesh out. But next up will be Phase 6, the final part of the series, which should be releasing soon. To stay up to date and find out when the next episode releases, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and also check out some of my other series, such as my Dragon Ball Analysis series and Rebooted MCU. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all again very soon. This is JT Videos, signing out.